Can houses be haunted? Are demons real? What would be the signs? Welcome to Trevor's Tarot, Astrology, and Spirituality. First off, thank you to everybody who's subscribed to the channel. Thank you if you've watched the videos, if you've commented on the videos, a huge, huge thank you. If you donated to the channel, a huge, huge thank you. Okay, so in my experiences of going around and cleansing houses, these are the top complaints that I get that if I heard, I would think, yeah, you probably need to do something about that. So the very first thing that I usually hear if somebody suspects their house is haunted, now haunted sounds like an extreme word, but we'll ask the tarot about that, and we'll ask the tarot about demons as well. Um, the number one thing that I hear is I feel like I'm being watched. Okay. What I usually ask people if they're still in the house, because oftentimes I work with people that are selling houses and they've already left, and um, they'll tell the realtor about their experiences. So a lot of times I don't get to ask people, but sometimes I do. And I've worked with people that still live in the houses that we've cleansed, and it seems to work. So those things that we talked about in the last video, and I'll link that in this video, um, seem to help. Okay. So the number one thing is, do you feel like you're being watched? And this is what I would tell somebody. If you feel like you're being watched, is to don't think about it. Just close your eyes. What's the first thing you see? That's it. If you see something that kind of conjures up something scary, then it's probably some sort of negative energy that we need to get rid of. Now, it might conjure up an image of somebody who's passed over that was a loved one. And if that's the case, you might not want to get rid of it. You might want to sit with it for a while and see if that feeling of being watched doesn't turn into something a little bit more poignant. The other thing, probably the number two thing I think I hear from people is that there's an odd smell, but not all the time. Just every once in a while, they'll be walking through a hallway or into a room or coming in from the garage, and there'll be a smell to the house that only lasts for a brief moment. And it's usually something like it smells like cigarettes, cigars, bad perfume, lilacs, uh, jasmine, things like that. Now, most of the time with the smells, it's generally a negative energy, but not always. For example, I personally, around Christmas time, it's not unusual for me to smell like apple pie and cinnamon or like pumpkin pie spice. And that reminds me of my grandmother, and I'm fairly confident that's just what it is. So, like I said, sometimes these things can turn out to be poignant if you set with them. It's not something you always want to get rid of. The third thing, and this is not quite as common as the first two, but still pretty common, is that cabinet doors are open when you walk into the kitchen or the pantry. The cabinet doors are sometimes open, and you're pretty sure you've closed them. Now, in my experience, this is almost always a cabinet that has like tea or coffee or sugar in it, or has coffee cups, tea cups, or like plates that you'd put dessert on, not necessarily like dinner plates, but like plates that you'd put dessert on. I don't know why those are the most common cabinets. It is. Um, and again, maybe ask yourself, is this somebody who's crossed over that I know? Especially if they perhaps lived in the house too. Now, if you're new to the house and you don't know anybody that's crossed over recently and you don't think it's that, then you might want to just get rid of it, right? It could be somebody else's crossed over person that's attached to the house. We'll ask the tarot more about that. Do shadows suddenly catch your eye? Does it look like you saw a shadow and you like suddenly turn? That's a little bit less common, but that's another common thing people say. The other thing, and this is really interesting because I've heard this from at least 10 people, is that for whatever reason, when they move into this house, they suddenly feel like they have to itch the top of their head really quickly. Like they're sitting there watching TV, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, really itchy head. and they'll have to scratch. I don't know why, but that's a pretty common thing that I hear. A little bit less common than that are hearing unexplained noises, in particular, like creaking sounds or whispers. It's a little bit less common. Most of the time, the noises, like after you get to them, they kind of can be explained. That's why they say unexplained noises. Um, the other somewhat uncommon thing is feeling temperature changes. Like you feel like the room has suddenly gone cold, or in some cases, even hot. Now, again, that's a little bit more rare, but all these would be kind of signs. The techniques that we talked about in the house cleansing video, they should work to get rid of all of these. That's why I think when we're talking about making the water, it's like I said, get rid of the unwanted negative energies and the unwanted positive, or keep the positive energies, because sometimes you don't know yet, especially if it's kind of just new. Now, if this has been going on for months and months and months, you would know whether it was a good energy and you'd want to keep it. You would know already. So if it's been going on for months and months and months and it just feels uncomfortable, then it's probably something you need to get rid of. So smudging generally works. Cleansing the house with holy water, or like the waters that were described in the video, they made that usually works. Also, introducing new smells to the house can work as well, such as boiling cinnamon and allspice berries. I don't know why that really tends to work. If you boil them on the stove and then you just walk around and let the steam kind of go. Now, if you're going to smudge the house, make sure you get the smoke into the corners of the house. And if there's any cobwebs, obviously remove those. But that's also kind of a sign too of where things would hang out, is where there's cobwebs. So think about trying to get smoke into the spots where there might be cobwebs. Okay. All right. So let's ask the tarot. What can you tell us about haunted houses? Just keep it really vague. What can you tell us about haunted houses? So I'll try to pick up some images in the scramble as we go through this. Let me tell us about haunted houses. So I see the Empress card in the water. This could be a nurturing energy. So this could be like a crossed over grandmother, mother, possibly a child too. Especially a child that was really wanted, that died as an infant. Getting that. And that's just to reassure you that everything's okay. If that applies to your situation, that everything's okay and you didn't do anything wrong. It's just the way it was supposed to play out. You tell us about haunted houses. Yeah. I see the image of the unmistakable image of the front of the house that's featured in the Amityville Horror. The kind of barn shape with the windows that look almost like eyes. So I think that's just confirmation. Something happens. Something happens to make a house haunted. So we get the Tower card. Something happens. Something shocking, something destructive usually happens. It could be death. Death can be considered destructive, I suppose. It could also be a situation where somebody experienced some really heavy trauma in the house, and that energy is lingering, whether it's actually the person's spirit or not, but the negative energy can linger as well. We get temperance, but what I'm seeing here is the depiction of the angel. So these can be benevolent spirits as well, crossed over loved ones that mean absolutely no harm whatsoever. They mean to guide us, to help us live a life of moderation. They generally come at times of stress. That's why I talked about my garage comes around Christmas time, because that's just a time of great stress for me for a number of reasons. Um, if you're struggling, with something really heavy, they can come at those times. Um, this certainly does not apply to most people, but to some of you, if you're struggling with, addictions, they can come to guide you through that healing process as well. Let's see if I can get anything else. So the benevolent energies can come. You can also just come to, like, if you haven't gotten a medical checkup in a while, not medical advice, this is a tarot reading, but if you're feeling that benevolent type energy, they might be just telling you maybe you should go get checked out if you haven't for a while, just to make sure everything's okay, because they worry. They they worry as if they haven't passed over. Three major arcanas, lots of energy. Sometimes it's about justice. I've experienced this in my own house cleansing, where there's been situations where something happened, the Tower card. Something happened to someone that never got justice for whatever happened to them. And it can be that. It's like if you've seen the movie The Ring or The Stir of Echoes, it's a reason why Hollywood has this theme of, like, abusive situations that never get revealed. And that causes a haunting, because that's kind of what sometimes can happen. Now, is it going to hurt you? No. Are things like in Paranormal Activity going to happen where you're, thrown down a flight of stairs, or, stuff starts coming out of your eyes? I don't think so. I've never experienced that. Um, but I have experienced parts where something really awful has happened and it went without being known. And the energy just wants to tell the story. That to them is justice, just so somebody knows. So that can be a really heavy energy. If you've got that going on, definitely cleanse your house. Go through the whole procedures with the full moon water, the new moon water, the smudging, all of those things, holy water if you don't want to make the waters. You can take holy water and you can put symbols, like if you believe in the Christian faith, you can put a cross on various things where you're feeling that energy. Um, if you're more pagan, you can put a pentacle, whatever, Star David, um, sickle and star, whatever resonates with you. But that certainly can happen. And I think here the universe is just telling you that these energies are not only real, they're strong. Sometimes it's three major arcanas in a row. Let's pull a couple more cards. Four major arcanas. We get the High Priestess. So this is things we can't see. And it might not only just be things we can't see, it might be things that we shouldn't know about. Now, the angels in particular, or benevolent crossed over spirits, can keep us safe from things that we shouldn't know. Now, what those things are, obviously, we're not supposed to know them, so we just don't know. But things that might keep you from living your life to its fullest, for example. Oftentimes, they are messages about health. So Pentacles can be health. We get the Page of Pentacles, a message coming forward about health. Now, this often can be accompanied by dreams. So if we do have something benevolent coming forward to help us, and they're giving us a message, sometimes it can be accompanied by dreams. This is not medical advice. I am not qualified to give that. This is just a tarot reading and it's for entertainment purposes only. But if you're having dreams like of your teeth falling out or problems with your teeth, that's I would, again, not advice, but I personally would definitely go see a doctor to make sure everything's okay. Because it's probably very fixable. It's not probably anything serious, but would be if you leave it unchecked. So these could be messages that come forward to help us. And we get the Page of Swords. They can also be messages to help us through things that are really emotionally charged, like helping us through an addiction. I don't know why I got that, but somebody who's watching this video probably needs to hear that. But it also can be helping us through a grief process as well. It doesn't have to be anything, untoward or sordid. It can just be them trying, it's a message coming forward to help us with something. And sometimes it's an internal conflict that we have. Perhaps the way somebody passed and we didn't have complete resolution with them before they passed, for example. Perhaps it's somebody coming forward, who decided for whatever reason, and probably we're not supposed to know why, and fair warning, this might be sensitive to you, that maybe decided to end life early. It could be them coming forward to try to help you work through that emotion. Now, I've personally experienced that, and I know what that feels like. It's uncomfortable, but it's benevolent. It's not an energy that you want to instantly dismiss. Like I said, if you've sat with this energy for months and months and months and it's uncomfortable, it's probably nothing like this benevolence. It's probably more like this. Like something happened, justice wasn't done. We're not probably always supposed to know about it, but we can help get rid of it with the smudging and the waters. All of those things will help. And we get another page. There are always messages. I mean, the universe cannot be more clear here. 3 pages, 4 major arcanas, and internal conflict. So it might also be, a message about something to kind of re-inspire you to look forward to life. We all get down in the dumps sometimes. There's a difference between being sad and being depressed, right? Not medical advice, but they might come around to visit us when we're in that kind of state of anxiety or feeling overwhelmed. And it's not necessarily something we're comfortable talking about. We don't maybe want people to know about. And so they will come to us to help us. And then finally, the last card that we get is the 2 of Wands, which is about making choices, about being at a crossroads. It's maybe to help you make a decision about a big life choice, whether that might be changing careers, maybe getting married, maybe starting a family. It's to reassure you that the choice that you're thinking about making is the correct choice for you. And the external forces that act on us in this realm might not always have our best interest in play, but the external forces do have our best interest in play. So, for example, if you decide that you're choosing between 2 jobs, one pays this much, the other one pays quite a bit less, but you really want the one that pays less, and everybody's telling you that's crazy, you should take the one that pays more. Maybe they might come and tell you, yeah, you're right, take the job that pays less. It might be a choice like that where nobody else can see the rationale behind your decision. So, yeah, that is what these spirits in these houses are, or apartments are about. Sometimes they're attached to the house, and that's more this energy along with This energy, the Tower and Justice, this is, and this is somewhat rare. This doesn't happen a lot, but this, and it's an overwhelming, make you cry kind of an emotion. If you're feeling that, you can cleanse the house. It should help. You might have to do it more than once. So, but most likely it's something actually trying to give you a message. Now, if you've just moved in, that might not make sense. Somebody asked me about a car. If you buy a used car, can you do these cleansings? I don't see why not. I think they should work. That's stuff that's probably not, benevolent, is probably more just kind of an energy that needs to go, because there can just be negative energies that exist for a variety of reasons. So let's ask the question, are demons real? Because I'm not convinced one way or another on this one. I think people in this life can be pretty awful. But as far as crossed over experiences, I've never experienced anything that was really malevolent. I've experienced stories that were very sad that needed to be told to come to resolution. I'll let your imagination run on that one because I don't want to talk about them, but you can probably picture what I mean. Okay, so are demons real? Are demons real? Not getting any really signs one way or another. Sometimes I'll get like a flashing no or flashing yes on a question. Like it appears kind of like a hotel sign used to in the 80s of the no vacancy or vacancy. I'm not getting that. So question might be too ambiguous. Is there such a thing as evil? I think the answer is yes, right? There are evil people, but evil spirits. It's like there's guardrails in place to keep us safe from that kind of stuff. Um, or at least mostly safe. Like there might be the odd situation where really bad things can happen, but there are guardrails, the Nine of Wands. And this is going to be a theme for everyone over the next 6 months, this idea of having guardrails for yourself and for others. We get the King of Wands. This is a yes card, but it's also about the energy of like somebody who's possibly taken power away from somebody. So somebody that's like over domineering or maybe even abusive. That energy can feel demonic, but I don't think that it necessarily is. We get the World card, the stories all over the world about demons. That's what I'm getting from that card. Let me see. I can't. Yeah, I get the image of, like eyes watching us, but I don't know that they would rise to the level so much as demon. I think it's maybe the problem is this with the question is sometimes things only exist in our own constructs. So if you're more likely to believe in demons, you might be more likely to encounter that energy and encounter an energy and interpret it that way, versus somebody who maybe doesn't really believe in that construct might encounter the same energy, feel the same exact things, but interpret it differently. So are demons real? It might be a matter of how we're using that word. But as far as like live living beings that can come into this realm and cause harm, I'm not seeing that. Um, it's about relationships. It's about your relationship with the world beyond and your understanding of it. So we get the Sun card. I think the message is to know that you're safe, that there aren't things that are going to just pop out of nowhere and cause you harm. There'll be very big warning signs. Guardrails will come down with the Nine of Wands. That's what I'm getting. Let's pull one more card. It can cause a lot of anxiety and a lot of worry and a lot of stress, but not necessarily any physical harm. Let's just go one more. Yeah, know you're safe. Circles of support. There are people to keep us safe. Yeah. And eventually movement will happen and you'll move out of the troubled waters with the Six of Swords. So no, again, are demons real? I think it's a matter of your definition. I don't think it's a definitive answer one way or another. I think it's a matter of what that word means in your construct and how you perceive the world that is beyond this one. But regardless, most likely time when you're going to sense this energy is when you feel alone, with the Hermit card. I'm supposed to tell you that, I guess. Okay, so try some of the energy cleansing. Shoot me a message if you want more information or if you want me to read on something else. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe.